We got Tuesday morning, everyone, and thanks for clicking on to this video forecast. I'm forecaster Nathan Kitchens here, and here's a look at our service analysis for this morning. We have a frontal boundary pushing off towards the east coast. We had a very wet morning commute along the big cities, I-95. We have area of low pressure along the front providing heavy rain across parts of Kentucky and into the mid-Atlantic this morning. We are seeing some flooding issues as well. Thunderstorms erupting along the Gulf Coast, providing very heavy rain potential, and a potential for a few severe storms, possibly as well for today. Very nice day setting up across the northern plains. Much of the Midwest here looking at a quiet day with high pressure and control. Very pleasant temperatures, near average. A wildfire threat actually setting up today from Arizona into the northern plains as we have high pressure in place, so very quiet weather. Low humidity values and above normal temperatures will combine for that elevated wildfire potential for today. A frontal boundary across the west, and this will provide the potential for some pretty high winds across portions of the Four Corners region, especially around Utah and Nevada. We're looking at the potential for some very gusty winds for later on this afternoon, and definitely want to be mindful of that. We have some snowfall occurring across portions of the mountains here. An active day setting up along the Pacific Northwest. Looking at the alerts for the National Weather Service this morning, we do have wildfire threat today setting up across the northern plains. Let me get back here to the right map. Apologize for this here. Looking at the alerts from the National Weather Service for today, we have the wildfire threat setting up from Arizona into the Dakotas, where we do have that dry air in place, elevated fire potential. Frontal boundary moving along the west coast, pushing through the western part of the country, providing the potential for some very gusty winds this afternoon. We have a high wind warning in place across portions of Wyoming through Utah and parts of Nevada as well. The lighter brown shading here actually represents a wind advisory, where winds are still going to be gusty but not quite as strong. High wind warning is where you need to start watching for some pretty powerful winds, potential for power outages and those kind of things. So be mindful of that. Winter weather advisories across portions of the mountains here, where we do have the potential for some snowfall today. Flooding is going to be the highlight here across the Ohio Valley and into the southern part of the country. We have flood warnings coming up this morning across portions of southern and eastern Kentucky, where we've caught on anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain, and we still are seeing that rainfall this morning. That rainfall will gradually push eastward throughout the day today, but not before providing more flooding problems as well. The ground here is already saturated from the recent heavy rains in the past few weeks, and we really don't need much more rain at this point, but unfortunately we are getting some pretty good rainfall this morning. And active weather along the Gulf Coast, we've got flash flood warnings, we've got flood watches, flood warnings, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings, we've got it all. A very active day setting up along the Gulf Coast here, from Texas through Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama as well. Very active setup, not just for today, but also over the next few days as well. Looking at the radar this morning, we've had showers, like I mentioned, pushing along the Ohio Valley. First, let's look at the Pacific Northwest. We've got some showers and a few thunderstorms possible today along the Pacific Northwest. Some snowfall occurring in the mountains here from Idaho down through portions of Nevada, and those high wind warnings in effect today from Utah and Wyoming as that frontal boundary begins to push eastward later on this afternoon. Active weather, as I scroll here towards the mid-Atlantic region, we have a elongated band of rainfall occurring along this frontal boundary. We have a wave moving along this front, providing some heavy rainfall at times in some areas this morning. We picked up anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rainfall on top of a very soggy ground already, so flooding is a concern this morning, so be mindful of that. Never drive over a flooded roadway. And thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast. Look at this nasty setup here from the southeast corner of Texas all the way up through Louisiana, Mississippi. These thunderstorms are pushing northward out of the Gulf Coast here. This has flash flooding written all over it. We're going to see some very torrential rains, a lot of lightning, loud storms out there. We do have the potential for a few severe storms today. Not going to be a huge deal, but be mindful of that, and I'll show you the severe thunderstorm risk for today from the Storm Prediction Center. We do have a marginal threat today across portions of the Gulf Coast from Texas into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama as well. Just a large hail and damaging wind threat is going to be your main threat for today. The marginal threat is also in place here. A little area across portions of North Carolina. This does include far southern Virginia and far northeast South Carolina as well. High winds and maybe large hail and a couple storms. Going to be a very, very isolated basis. Not going to be a huge deal, but something to be mindful of today. And the lighter green shading you see here is just the general area where thunderstorms are possible for today. You can see it also for just some thunderstorms across portions of the Four Corners region for today, and also a threat for a few thunderstorms as well across portions of the Pacific Northwest. Again, non-severe for those areas. The active setup continues over the next few days as we're going to see more active times ahead for portions of the south where we've already seen a lot of rain. If I can get to the right map here, we're going to see potential for some pretty decent rainfall, not only for today but also over the next few days. Like going to the NAM computer model, for today we have those thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast of Texas and Mississippi and Louisiana. And those will continue to push eastward or push through throughout the day today. Scattered showers of thunderstorms continuing tonight. That wave that we saw across the mid-Atlantic will finally begin to push eastward tonight, giving these areas at least a break in the heavy rain. Heading into our Wednesday, guess what? There's more rain on this map here across portions of the southeast. More rain and some scattered showers, thunderstorm activity. We're also looking at some thunderstorms erupting from central Texas up into parts of Kansas and Colorado as well for tomorrow afternoon. And let me show you the Storm Prediction Center risk for our Wednesday. We've got a marginal threat here across portions of Texas up through Kansas and Colorado. Large hail and damaging winds going to be your main threats. Not going to be a huge deal, but some of these storms could come pretty strong. So we'll watch. Area in the light green shading, it indicates the potential for just general thunderstorms out there. Going back to the map for Thursday, guess what? There is more rain on this map across portions of the southeast. Decent wave of low pressure pushing northward through the Carolinas, providing a very, very wet day for your Thursday in those areas. More scattered shower and thunderstorm activity. Well, a lot of moisture in place across the south and into the southern plains as well. How about your severe risk for your Thursday? The Storm Prediction Center does have a marginal threat here across parts of Texas. This is the only area they have right now. It's just a marginal threat for a few severe storms. The light green shading you see here is the general area where thunderstorms will be possible for your Thursday. Now, as we head into our Friday, we're going to see potential for rainfall increasing across portions of the east here, and scattered showers across portions of the plain states across the Midwest for your Friday. Now, as we head into the weekend, this is where the models are kind of giving us a little fits, especially the past couple of days. They're starting to become a little more agreement. As we head throughout the week, especially by Thursday and into Friday, we're going to see a cutoff upper level low, cutting off from the main flow. You can see here on the Canadian model, once we get into our Thursday and Friday, it becomes cut off from the main flow, sits here along the Four Corners region, and the models are really struggling with what's going to happen as this ejects northeastward. Anytime you get a cut off upper level low, the models do a terrible job, and that's certainly been the case this go around. But luckily, we've seen the models come in a little better agreement over the past couple of runs. Definitely seen a lot more agreement, actually, so that's some good news. It actually looks like what's going to happen is as we head into the weekend, we're going to see this upper level low across the Four Corners region. And as it ejects northeastward into the Midwest this weekend, it will actually combine, it looks like, with an upper level feature across the northern stream and kind of combine with that. As we head into our Saturday and Sunday, we'll see a frontal boundary pushing through, potential for some rainfall, and then another decent area of low pressure once we get into early next week. Now, the forecast for this weekend, they're making plans. Will it rain? What can you expect? Looking at the precipitation off the GFS model for this weekend. Again, it's still a little early, but here's what kind of the idea is right now. Going back here to Saturday, if I can get back here, Saturday morning, we're looking at a frontal boundary pushing through. A lot of rainfall across portions of from Michigan, stretching all the way down through the southern part of the country. That upper level low I showed you on the 500 millibar map earlier is combining with this northern stream feature, northern stream trough moving through on Saturday. This boundary shifts eastward, and it does look like these areas will catch a break Saturday evening. Now, Saturday is a big day in Louisville, Kentucky. You got the thunder over Louisville. A lot of people are wanting to know, do we need to pack the umbrella? Certainly, definitely bring the umbrella. Definitely looks like we're going to see at least a chance for rain, but fingers crossed that we can get this rain out of here earlier in the afternoon and the evening, so the fireworks can you can have the fireworks show dry, but at least that's something we'll be watching over the next few days. Right now, it does look like the rain will probably move out in time that the fireworks can be dry, where the thunder will be variable, but that's just something that we'll always have to keep close watch over the next few days. As we head into Sunday, this area of rain pushes off to the east. This frontal boundary moves off towards the east. We have another area of low pressure across the Great Lakes as we head into our Sunday night and Monday, and this will bring down some cooler air as we head into early next week. And it looks like an overall cooler pattern is setting up across the northern part of the country, northern and eastern part of the country, as we head into next week, and really for much of the rest of April. The cooler than normal pattern is going to try to kind of come back and dominate for these areas. In fact, as I show you the European and GFS computer model temperature, the 500 millibar height anomalies for the 8 to 10 day outlook, and what you see here is a general pattern setting up where we've got cooler. We're going to see this troughiness kind of setting up across the northern plains into the northeast. This overall regime will feature cooler than normal temperatures for these areas, and you can see this ridge across portions of western Canada and stretching into parts of Alaska, where we're going to see warmer than normal conditions as well. So this really looks to be the pattern kind of setting up next week, and as we head into the later part of April. These things change every day, but right now it does look like the northern and eastern part of the country will trend much cooler as we head into next week. Now, I've been looking into kind of the longer range, looking at potentially how the pattern will be setting up as we head into our summer. We've had a very wet pattern across the south over the last several weeks, and the question is, will this pattern continue as we head into the summer? I've been looking at some computer models here. The one model we can look at is called the NMME model. In case you're curious, that stands for the National Multi-Model Ensemble. It combines several North American models to get its forecast, and it's still an experimental model, but I thought I'd show you guys what it's showing. A lot of talk about the El Nino setting up for the summer. It appears that it's going to become potentially a moderate El Nino as we head into the later part of the summer. That's what the forecasts are showing right now, that this El Nino will kind of heighten to become more of a moderate El Nino as we head into the summer, especially the later part of the summer and into next fall. How about our rainfall pattern as we head into the next few months? Here's a look at this model, the NMME precipitation forecast. This is for May, June, and July. Looks like we got a wetter than normal pattern across the south and into the Rocky Mountain region. Again, this is just off the model, doesn't mean it's correct, but this is the overall theme from May, June, and July, indicating a wetter than normal pattern across the south and into the Rockies region. Now, if I go a little farther here, get into, say, August, September, or excuse me, I should say June, July, August, here you can continue to see the wetter than normal pattern continuing across portions of the south and into the Rockies region. And heading towards next fall, June, July, August, the rainfall forecast, it starts to get a little less active across parts of the south, still pretty active across portions of the west. It would be great if California could get some rainfall. And looking into next late summer and into early next fall, August, September, and October, it does show a drier pattern kind of returning across parts of the south, so we'll see. And looking at the forecast month by month, to kind of break things down a little bit, it looks like as we head into our May, the month of May, you can see the wetter than normal pattern across the south and into the Rockies region, according to this model. Heading into the month of June, wetter than normal across the south and into the Rockies. Kind of got a theme here, don't we? Heading into July, the rainfall pattern, it's not quite, the probabilities don't go quite as high for above normal precipitation, but still there somewhat across the south and certainly across the Rockies region. That's for July. And heading into our August, you can see the rainy pattern does try to let up some, according to this model, as we head into August. The probabilities of it being wetter than normal go much lower. Better chance of it being a little closer to normal as far as your precipitation for that time. Okay, so I talked about the precipitation. How about temperatures? Okay, I looked at several analogs and looking at general patterns when we've had a moderate El Nino in place. given if the forecast verifies and we see a moderate El Nino set up later this summer. Looking back at several years that feature this similar setup, the temperature pattern overall was cooler than normal in the southeast part of the country. It was warmer than normal across the plain states, and we also had some cooler than normal temperatures as well across the interior west. So again, that's kind of a look at what some of the indications are as far as the pattern setting up over the next few months and as we head into our summer. That's about all I have for this video forecast. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great Tuesday, and keep it here to Convective Weather for more updated weather information.